Selecting Tim Walz as Kamala Harris's running mate came down to a Diet Mountain Dew. I kid you not. A Diet Mountain Dew is what tipped Kamala Harris over the edge to select Tim Walz as her running mate, according to a new book. And I'm all about going with your gut. But that is as bad of a decision on a decision of this scope and this size that you can possibly make when it comes down to a Diet Mountain Dew, John.
I think we sell a fair amount of that beverage in this building. So we may have had some qualified candidates right here.
Oh, so this new book is out, How Trump Retook the White House and the Democrats Lost America. It was released this week by a Wall Street Journal journalist and a New York Times journalist and a Washington Post journalist. And they described the vetting process that came down to the three finalists: Tim Walz, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, and Arizona Senator Mark Kelly. All three candidates did a final interview with Kamala Harris at her residence, the book explains, adding that when asked what they wanted to drink, Shapiro and Kelly chose water, while Tim Walz chose Diet Mountain Dew. Now, if you really wanted to win over Kamala Harris's heart, you would have picked a whiskey sour. But I guess that maybe wasn't an option.
Maybe it wasn't time for that yet.
Yeah. It wasn't rosé o'clock, I suppose.
Of course, the time to do what we do is whatever the hell she said.
Every day. That's what it is.
The Diet Mountain Dew kind of explains the heel clicks, I guess. The energy.
Guys always going, 11 out of 10. So appeal with rural voters was a top priority for the Harris ticket. And the book states that Harris's advisors felt that Walz was the best candidate to do that. And, they wanted that old ball coach, right? They wanted the high school football coach, Coach Timmy Tim. And then they thought, boy, this guy drinks Diet Mountain Dew. Oh, man. Hey, those rednecks, those hillbillies, those rubes are going to love this guy. Imagine thinking that about your political opponents and the people that probably aren't going to vote for you, but that you want to potentially vote for you. First off, it's not like I ever saw Tim Walz with a Diet Mountain Dew on the campaign trail. Like, one of us. He's a Diet Mountain Dew guy. All right, get him in there. He might not be able to define a woman or a guy, but you know what? He's drinking that Diet Mountain Dew, baby. I like him.
He's on diet, but I would say the missus is on full octane. When I've seen her talking, she must be drinking the regular.
Turn the page. Yes. So that was part of Kamala Harris's gut telling her to go with Tim Walz because he was a Diet Mountain Dew guy, John. That's pretty amazing.
Mountain Dew.
Yep.
Weehaw.
So here's the other thing that stood out in this, these excerpts are coming out from these books now on the 2024 campaign. Something else that stood out here is that apparently she didn't like the fact that Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, admitted that he's not a great number two and that he always viewed himself as basically a number one. And Tim Walz was very deferential. He's like, I'm not sure if I would do well in a debate. I'm a little too maybe I don't use a teleprompter, he told her. I'm a little off the cuff. And she liked that.
I wonder why.
Yeah. Well, that's because she has no confidence in herself.
Touche.
She has had such little confidence in herself, assuming the role atop a ticket to be the next president of the United States. She was looking for a lapdog. Trump had such confidence in himself, he picked J.D. Vance, who, let's be honest, does a better job explaining Trump on the issues than Trump does. Mm-hmm. I felt that since day one. J.D. Vance can verbalize Donald Trump's policies in a more succinct and detailed way than Trump does. But Trump doesn't care. Trump has so much confidence and swagger and belief in himself that he's not afraid to pick a guy who actually might be better at explaining his policies than he is, because he's got that alpha mentality. He's not intimidated by J.D. Vance. He's like, no, this guy's good for me. He's good for my campaign. He'll be good for the country. I'm not intimidated by him. Kamala Harris, who could have picked a governor from a key swing state in Pennsylvania, which could have tipped the election in her favor, also a Jewish guy, and we all know they struggled with that community in 2024 for obvious reasons. She didn't pick him because she was afraid he was going to be too much of a threat. What does that mean? You're going to be the most powerful person on the planet. Like, what's he going to do? Overrule you on something? What possibly would you be afraid of? But if you have such little confidence in yourself, which Kamala Harris clearly had, I mean, that was on display every time she got in front of a camera and a microphone, that you don't actually pick the right person because you want the person who's just going to be a little puppy dog, who's going to tell you how great of a job you're doing, who's going to be your cheerleader, even if they're not close to being the best person and the best pick for the job, John.
Yep. I can imagine the conversation of him saying, I don't know how I do in a debate. I don't use a teleprompter, and her going, I know, right?
Yeah. That makes two of us. You're great. You're a fit. Come on board, buddy. That's outstanding. And the other thing that I think back to is I just looked this up. So Trump picked J.D. Vance in mid-July after he nearly lost his life. Kamala picked Tim Walz in early August. So she had time on her side. Like, she could pick a candidate that would have been best suited to go up against J.D. Vance. Not that VPs really make this stuff, but when you're talking about a race that obviously is won along the margins, the stuff can matter. It can make a difference. And if you talk to Tim Walz for 5 minutes and you think that that dude is going to get up on a stage with J.D. Vance and have a chance in you-know-what of beating him, you've had too many whiskey sours. You finished the bottle of rosé. Because there's no one who would talk to J.D. Vance or even see J.D. Vance on TV and then talk to and even see Tim Walz on TV and think that these guys are in the same galaxy when it comes to ability to communicate and being able to handle yourself in a debate. Josh Shapiro versus J.D. Vance, that would have been a really compelling debate. That would have been, I believe, two heavyweights going at it. That would have been two guys who would have been the future of their respective parties on that stage in that moment in time. Instead, we got JD and Happy Hands Tim Walz drinking his Diet Mountain Dew behind the scenes. This is just case in point on another reason that Kamala Harris did not come close in this election of winning, losing all 7 swing states. It's decisions like this. And I love when these excerpts of these books come out because they are very, very telling.